Executive order. President Donald Trump makes a decision about immigration into the United States during the coronavirus pandemic. A big deal. Lawmakers move closer to an agreement to send $500 billion to help hospitals and small businesses. We have the latest. Fight for the unborn. Michigan's governor calls abortion life-sustaining. The state's Catholic leaders respond. And help from above. Pope Francis says there's an answer for communities and workplaces divided by gossip and vanity. On EWTN News Nightly for Tuesday, April 21st, 2020. Good evening, and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Tracy Sable. President Donald Trump announces new immigration restrictions in the wake of the coronavirus crisis. We're also tracking falling oil prices, states that are reopening, and a promising new test for healthcare workers and first responders. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reports. Owen?
Tracy, we'll get to that testing in a moment. First, President Trump is clamping down on immigration tonight because of the virus. He's also working to protect energy jobs. This as some states are trying to reopen.
President Donald Trump tweeting he's shutting down immigration, saying, in light of the attack from the invisible enemy, as well as the need to protect the jobs of our great American citizens, I'll be signing an executive order to temporarily suspend immigration into the United States. The mayor of Los Angeles critical of that.
I think that Mexico is more worried about the rate of infection from the United States right now than vice versa. So let's make sure that we stay connected and engaged with the world.
Meanwhile, oil prices tanking. The president tweeting, we will never let the great U.S. oil and gas industry down. I have instructed the Secretary of Energy and Secretary of the Treasury to formulate a plan which will make funds available so that these very important companies and jobs will be secured long into the future. And with prices so low,
we're filling up our national petroleum reserves, the strategic reserves, and we're looking to put as much as 75 million barrels into the reserves themselves. That would top it out.
Also, states like Georgia reopening.
When we have more people moving around, we're probably going to see our cases continue to go up, but we're a lot better prepared for that now than we were over a month ago.
But with safety precautions.
The entities which I'm reopening are not reopening as business as usual.
Atlanta's mayor, however, still concerned.
For us to have a strong economy, we have to have strong and healthy communities.
Also tonight, Hertz is laying off 10,000 workers because of a reduction in travel. The feds have okayed a coronavirus test. You can do it at home by taking a swab sample and sending it back in, but it has to be under a doctor's orders. And McDonald's, in a nice gesture, is giving free meals to healthcare workers starting tomorrow through May 5th. Tracy?
Okay, thank you, Owen. Correspondent Owen Jensen reporting remotely tonight. Thank you again, Owen. Lawmakers reach agreement on major elements of the latest coronavirus relief package. It will cost nearly $500 billion. That includes small business aid, plus help for hospitals, as well as virus testing. Correspondent Eric Rosales reports. Eric.
Well, Tracy, it is amazing that we're talking about $500 billion more than $300 billion of which is going to go to replenish the Paycheck Protection Program. Now, I did speak with Senator Mike Braun from Indiana. He tells me that he's excited that this thing is going to pass and it's going to help a number of small businesses in his area. With banks tapped out on small business loans, shop owners have been waiting.
We're working through a couple different scenarios. One is, what if we have to completely close? And that's a very real possibility. We just might not make it through this.
Shake Shack was among the big companies offered millions in the previous bill, thanks to loopholes. Their CEO says the company has returned $10 million in federal funds. Democratic leader Chuck Schumer says restrictions are in place to prevent that from happening again.
And we got $125 billion that will go exclusively to the unbanked, to the minorities, to the rural areas, and to all of those little mom and pop stores that don't have a good banking connection and need the help.
Sources tell me $25 billion for testing demanded by Democrats was a big item of contention in the new bill.
We're not going to be able to open up America unless we have a national testing strategy and the states tied into that.
Republican Senator Mike Braun says, yes, testing is important, but so is empowering local government.
Because every county is different within a state. Every state is different across the nation.
Senator Braun says governors know what's happening in their backyards, and certain counties can get back to a new normal.
And when I talk about a smart restart, it's not giving any ground back to hit, but doing the things we've learned as being an ingenious people that are entrepreneurial in nature. I think we can do both things at once.
And now that the Senate has given it the green light, we're hearing that the House of Representatives could actually hear the bill on Thursday and possibly vote Thursday afternoon. Tracy.
Correspondent Eric Rosales reporting tonight. Thank you, Eric. Britain is marking Queen Elizabeth II's 94th birthday today without fanfare. The traditional celebrations did not take place today as the United Kingdom is in lockdown in an effort to slow the spread of the coronavirus. The oldest and longest-serving monarch in British history is spending the day at Windsor Castle with her husband and only a skeleton staff. The British Parliament went back to work today, but lawmakers were told to, quote, stay away. They returned to deal with the coronavirus, but most of their business was conducted remotely. The House of Commons was virtually empty, with space being made for a maximum of 50 of the 650 members of Parliament. There are unconfirmed reports the leader of North Korea is in grave condition after a possible heart surgery. Speculation started when leader Kim Jong-un was not seen at ceremonies marking the most important holiday last week, the birthday of the country's founding father, Kim Il-sung. A South Korean lawmaker says he believes the North Korean leader is in grave danger after surgery complications, but the government of South Korea is denying that, and U.S. intelligence is not confirming the reports. Mosques in Bosnia are getting disinfected ahead of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, which starts later this week. In Sarajevo, workers in protective gear are spraying inside and outside the Chobanya Mosque. Bosnia is under lockdown, and only a few religious leaders and Muslim worshippers will be allowed in. In Sri Lanka, Christians commemorate the anniversary of last year's deadly bomb attacks on churches on Easter Sunday. 3 churches were attacked on April 21st of last year. 2 were Catholic and the other was Protestant. More than 260 were killed in the suicide bombings. Public memorials were canceled because of the coronavirus pandemic, so pastors rang church bells and led 2 minutes of silence. The president of France talks with Pope Francis on the phone along with a translator. Emmanuel Macron and the Holy Father discussed forgiving the debts of the poorest countries in the world. Pope Francis called for debt forgiveness in his Easter message. President Macron also invited Pope Francis to visit France when the pandemic is over. As we've mentioned, the Vatican's financial watchdog group recently appointed a new director. Giuseppe Schlitzer will head the day-to-day operations of the Financial Information Authority. It is just another step towards financial transparency at the Vatican. Andrea Gagliarducci, Vatican Analyst for EWTN News, joins us now from Rome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So, Andrea, how does this appointment change the future of the Vatican's Financial Information Authority?
Well, how this appointment is going to change the future, we have still to assess. It's certainly a new season. We have a new director. We have a new president. None of them has been involved in the drafting the new laws that led to the anti-money laundering system in the Vatican City-State and the Holy See. Both of them are Italians. This was different. None of them has ever worked before in the Holy See. So it's a brand new world. It's a brand new world that we have to assess. Certainly, there are many challenges in the offing. The first one will be the inspection, the inspection of the Moneyval Committee. The Moneyval Committee is a committee of the Council of Europe that evaluates the state of the financial transparency in the member states, in the states that join the program. this evaluation had to come in spring, and now it will be postponed because of coronavirus, but we have to wait how things will develop now.
I know you described the Vatican financial situation as phases or seasons. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I usually tend to divide the three main seasons, and now we are in the fourth season. The first season was between 2011 2012, when the anti-money laundering law was first drafted. Well, in that moment, there was a certain pressure, especially from Italian authorities, that seized money from the IOR. So there was this kind of rational kind of thought that the Holy See had to follow the Italian rules to draft a law that was tailored after the Italian anti-money laundering law. And that's the reason why you had the first financial intelligence authority filled with Italians, and mostly was an Italian mentality. This was not good. It had no results. Moneyval asked to change. There was a new law, or better, the law was tweaked. Then there was the Moneyval report in 2012. The Moneyval report in 2012 marked the second season. It was pretty good. There were shortcomings, but it was pretty good. And then there was the third season. The third season was the brand new law. The brand new law that was issued in August 2013. It was a new Vatican financial system, a new anti-money laundering system that was strengthening the Vatican as an international force, not tailored after Italy, not tailored after any other country, but just the Holy See with its particularities. Now we are in the fourth season because, as I said, now all the people that are inside the Vatican working on these issues have not been involved before. So we don't know what's going on now. There will be changes, there will be not. We'll see.
Andrea, of course, everything is postponed due to the coronavirus pandemic. But what is next for the Vatican finances? Do you know?
Well, the next Moneyval report will be on the effectiveness of the system. It means that it will evaluate the way how the Vatican prosecutor followed the investigations, the suspicious transactions reports by the Financial Intelligence Authority. So now the lights are on the tribunal. And we saw from the latest reports that the tribunal did not follow so much the reports. There were just something like 5 or 6 prosecutions out of hundreds of reports. So this is what they have to fix. They will have to fix the functionality, the effectiveness of the tribunal. And we'll see how Europe will ask the Vatican to fix it and how the Vatican will fit to the requirements.
Well, Andrea, thank you so much for your insight. So great to see you. Andrea Gagliarducci, Vatican Analyst for EWTN News.
Thank you.
Coming up, a new leader for a diocese in Louisiana. And an update on an attempt by the governor of Texas to ban most abortions during the pandemic. Pope Francis has appointed a new leader for the Diocese of Alexandria in Louisiana. Father Robert Marshall is coming from the Diocese of Memphis. The 60-year-old worked as a civil attorney before his ordination to the priesthood 20 years ago. It's unclear when his installation mass will take place. A federal appeals court says Texas can ban medical abortions as part of its effort to fight the spread of the coronavirus. Republican Governor Greg Abbott says that he is seeking the ban to slow the use of masks, gowns, and other protective gear. Abortion supporters say the move is to restrict access to abortion. Michigan's Democrat Governor Gretchen Whitmer recently said that abortion is, quote, life-sustaining. The state's Catholic leaders are responding. The Michigan Catholic Conference said in a statement, quote, we call on Governor Whitmer to pause and reflect on the wounds her comments have created. We all need the governor's sole focus right now to be on the needs of the people of Michigan, not the demands of the abortion industry. For more on this story, including a closer look at Governor Whitmer's pro-abortion comments, visit our partners at CatholicNewsAgency.com. This month marks National Child Abuse Prevention Month, and the Catholic Diocese of Arlington is taking to social media to raise awareness about the issue and how to protect children. Joining me now on Skype to talk more about the campaign is Deacon Mark Silva, Director of the Office of Child Protection and Victim Assistance for the Catholic Diocese of Arlington. Deacon, welcome to the show.
All right, thank you. It's good to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the church's efforts to protect children and why it's so important?
Oh, it's so very important because our children are our greatest gift, and they are literally our future and an inheritance for us. And so we have put into this effort because each year there's about 680,000 plus victims of abuse that are children under the age of 18. And so we want to get the word out there so that more people will know about abuse, how it may happen, and ways to prevent it, especially during this time of the COVID-19 when more people are at home. Unfortunately, instances of potential abuse can rise. And because that the main individuals who report it, mandated reporters, don't have access to the kids, what we're finding is that fewer referrals are being made to Child Protective Services or CPS.
That was going to be one of my next questions, Deacon. How can people know if someone is being abused or neglected during this time when we're not really able to go out because of the stay-at-home orders?
It's difficult, to be honest, but abusers, really what they're looking to do is to isolate individuals from friends, family. Here in Virginia, we recognize 4 different types of abuse: sexual, physical, medical, and psychological. And abuse is really about power. It's about control. And so, to be honest, because there's the stay-at-home order, there's more of a propensity for that to be inflicted on those individuals. We should be looking for people who are more and more isolated, those who are not following up on their basic relationships. We look for signs for extremes in not only behavior and hygiene, whether it's a good extreme or a bad extreme, but it's a series of I guess you would call symptoms that we should be aware of. With that, what we always encourage individuals to is if they have an inkling that they should call the CPS hotline, and with that, you can find it either online or in the Yellow Pages for those who still use the Yellow Pages, and they will walk you through it. They're the professionals. We give them what I like to say is, if your spidey senses are tingling, just make that phone call, and they'll walk you through the questions, take the information, and help you make those next steps.
This obviously is a very isolating experience for those who may be afraid to reach out for help. How can we support them and their children, their families during this time?
Part of the reason that we're doing this campaign, this social media campaign, Bishop Burbidge is it is so much part of his ministry to protect the youth, that one of the things that we know is that communities that start to learn and start to discuss child abuse and child neglect, well, we see the instances dramatically drop. And that's because there's more of an awareness. And when there's more of an awareness, it helps set up natural boundaries, and also causes those who might have a propensity towards that to refrain a little more. I think some great things to do would be to reach out to your family, to your friends, whether it be through Skype, FaceTime, Google Hangouts, to check in, see how everything is going. Part of what allows an individual to share about this devastating experience that may be happening to them is that there's a relationship. And that relationship, once it's a trusted relationship, then individuals, they'll share. And we should be aware that when they do share, it's a traumatic experience. The individual who's hearing this, it's not their job to figure out the veracity of the claim. It's not their job to try to fix that. What they're there is to listen. We want them to try to see if they can identify who the abuser is, where it's happening, and then they need to make that call. Communicating concerns is the hardest step in protecting our youth. But once we do that, we can hand it over to the professionals. They will look at the veracity. They will look at the claims. And then, especially here in Virginia and in many states around the U.S., there are anonymity laws. So you do not have to give your name, but I always would encourage you to write down the date, time that you called, and either the case number or person that you spoke to. And that's a great first step to assist individuals.
Well, Deacon, thank you so much for sharing this information with us. It's a very, very important issue. We really appreciate it. Deacon Mark Silva, thanks again.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon.
Up next, Pope Francis says something good can come from the silence caused by the coronavirus pandemic. and reaction to the Pope's decision to postpone World Youth Day. Pope Francis says the silence caused by the coronavirus pandemic is an opportunity for the faithful to remember the importance of listening.
Nelle nostre abitudini ci insegni ad ascoltare.
At his daily mass in the Vatican, the Holy Father also discussed the three traits that divide communities. He says love of money, vanity, and gossip can ruin workplaces and families. The way to combat those temptations is to ask for help from the Holy Spirit and to be open to his prompting and direction as we reject the things of this world. The Bishop's local organizing committee for World Youth Day in Portugal says it supports the Pope's decision to postpone the event in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. World Youth Day was started by St. Pope John Paul II in 1985. It is typically held on the international level every 3 years. It took place last time in Panama in January of 2019 and drew an estimated 700,000 young Catholics. Joining me now on Skype is Catarina Andre, Communications Coordinator for World Youth Day. Anna, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So it looks like World Youth Day will now take place in August of 2023. And while the delay is for everyone's safety, and we understand that, it still must be very disappointing.
No, in fact, it's not. I think it's a decision the Pope has made, and we are connected with his decision. For us, we share this call of the Holy Father that. In the current context, we have to be focused on everyone's attention and caring for the most vulnerable people. So we have to be focused on this pandemic. And on the other side, we maintain our enthusiasm and our confidence about organizing this event that gives so many joy and so many hope, for young people all around the world. So we're not disappointed at all.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. There's so much enthusiasm still around it. Palm Sunday, Pope Francis said his thoughts go out to the young people of the world, and so many young people have expressed feeling lonely and isolated during this time. How important is it for church leaders to connect with them now, and how can the church support them?
It's quite important to use the tools we have nowadays to be in touch with each other. I mean, to go to the Mass online, to pray online with applications, to use social media, to read something about that give young people a meaning and a purpose in their lives. I think it's so important to have this to maintain connected. Otherwise, we are a social human being, so we have to be connected. Of course, it's not the ideal, but nowadays we have to face this as a challenge and have to be hopeful that it's going to get better.
Despite the delay for the event, as you mentioned, preparations continue. I know the theme is Mary arose and went with haste. Can you talk about that and the significance of the theme?
Yeah, of course. This theme, it's quite an interesting theme for us here in Portugal, because not only we have a special connection with Our Lady. As you all know, the Our Lady of Fatima, which is quite known all around the world, is here in Portugal. So we have quite a connection with our mother. And this thing helps us to understand that we have to take a place in the world, and we have to do something to make it better. So in the context we are living now, I think we wouldn't expect a better thing than this one.
Well, Anna, anything else that we can look forward to?
Yes, I think in Lisbon here you'll find not only a great city to discover, but a city that testifies the faith of Portuguese people, our long missionary tradition, which is quite interesting because, as the Pope said several times, from Lisbon, we had a great number of young people that set out for unknown lands to share their experience of Jesus with other people and nations. So I think that perspective is quite interesting to help young people, not only, but everyone to have this experience.
Well, Anna, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Anna Catarina Andre, Communications Coordinator for World Youth Day. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And a reminder, EWTN broadcasts Mass throughout the day. Mass airs at 8 a.m., noon, and 7 p.m. Eastern. We're also showing the Pope's daily Mass and other special programming throughout the day. We also have Eucharistic adoration from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. on our website, EWTN.com. We thank you for watching tonight. For the entire EWTN News Nightly team, I'm Tracy Sable. We're back tomorrow with more news from a Catholic perspective. Good night and God bless.